Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking the Flash episodes Think Fast and We Are the Flash. So here we go, guys. We've got our season 4 finale all wrapped up. Pretty satisfying end to the season, if you ask me. So let's kind of get right into it. So with Think Fast, our main things are the attack on the Argus facility, and we get to see that, with all the combined powers of the bus metas, DeVoe is really just utterly almost unstoppable. I mean, he's just going in there killing guys left and right, and a lot of it is he's just doing this just for the fun of it. The pure sadistic joy of it, which is just further highlighting that he's been corrupted by the power that he has gained, and that he has truly abandoned all morality. His wife, you can't even blame Marlise leaving for this. I mean, he was already far gone beyond this before she even left him. I mean, he was drugging and brainwashing his own wife simply because she was useful to him. Um, so yeah, just the sadism of it all just shows that whatever you might think about technology, DeVoe is certainly not someone to look to for a solution. Of course, the whole making everybody in the world really dumb doesn't seem like a very practical solution either. I keep thinking of that line that George Carlin came up with. Think about how dumb the average person is, and then think about how half of people in the world are dumber than that. So yeah, still, we also find out that I believe that Harry is kind of a little unwitting test subject for what it is that DeVoe is planning to do, and the idea of everybody in the world being reduced to what Harry has become. That's pretty frightening. And yet, with Cisco's help and one last shot of the thinking cap, um, sorry, but nonetheless, Harry is able to figure out where it is that Marlise would be hiding out. And despite the whole, hey, she stabbed me, and I like how there's actually a scar that Iris has from that. Iris is able to go over there and convince Marlise to throw in with them. Um, so this was reasonably solid stuff. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but good enough. Now, of course, when we move on to our actual season finale proper, this is where things get much more interesting. Of course, Ralph's consciousness being alive inside DeVoe's makes sense because that's Ralph's body. So that wasn't the least bit surprising to me at all. Um, but I do like the way that Barry was able to rally Ralph, and them teaming up to take on DeVoe inside DeVoe's own mind. Obviously, lifting more than a little bit from the latter Matrix movies, but still really good stuff. Oh yeah, of course I can't forget that we get a guest appearance by John Diggle in the previous episode, and once again he ends up puking, which just I mean that just never gets old. That really does not get old. Especially I like how he does it. It's just like he just says to Barry, "I hate you," and Barry's just like, "Yeah, I know. Sorry, man." But yeah, I do like that aspect there. Like it does sort of make sense that Barry would also have some sort of a relationship with Argus. He knows John, who is married to the head of Argus there in Star City. Well, the leader of Argus. Why is Argus based in Star City anyway? I mean, shouldn't that be based in like Washington D.C. or something? Anyway, considering that and all of the metahumans and stuff they deal with, it does kind of make sense that Barry should have a close bond with them, or connections with them, I suppose. I mean, he can't be too close because, in theory, he still has to protect his secret identity, even though the number of people who know who he really is kind of ridiculous. but it is what it is. Um, all in all, the whole thing with the final battle with the Thinker and all of that, I mean, it's exciting, it's fun to watch, but it just really wasn't anything really that unexpected there. Well, except for Barry's the assist from Nora. That I did not expect. But it's definitely not up there with like the sheer craziness we got with the season 1 finale. The whole thing of the satellites falling to Earth just kind of felt like it's like, oh well, we've still got a whole bunch of time left, so we have to find some other way to make a big threat out of this situation. And I just kind of felt myself saying like, okay, yeah, I know there's still a decent chunk of the show left. You can't quite end things here, but really, can we we have to turn this into a city and into a threat? And it's like, oh, they're gonna DeVoe is being a petty dick, so he's gonna drop the satellites on the city. He's using Dwarf Star's powers to basically turn this into an extinction level event. It's just sort of like, when we've had this one threat percolating for a vast majority of the season, and then it's dealt with, and then just literally seconds later, it turns into a new but still different threat, that just doesn't work for me. Um, so let's see here. But nonetheless, Barry and of course T-Flash, everybody ends up saving the day. The baby is born. Jenna is her name, and she seems to be fine. And then, of course, we've got Nora turning up there at the end of the episode, and after having assisted Barry. And this does set up some things nicely for season 5. It's kind of nice that, in a way, not everything is tied up in a nice little package there, which is kind of how things have generally gone in the previous seasons. I mean, there's always been a little teaser there. Season 1 had left us with a really nice cliffhanger and all of that. But still, here it's sort of like, well, okay, what's going on with Nora? What is this big mistake that she had? Like, hey, what's going on with this weird Speed Force language and stuff? What's going on with the whole we need more diapers? I mean, obviously we can kind of guess what that means. And I do like, if you've been paying attention, one of the things that Barry first said when he came back out of the Speed Force was, Nora isn't supposed to be here. So, right there from the start, they in a way gave us the girl's name. Now, of course, in the comics, Barry and Iris's daughter is called Dawn. But here, switching it so that she's named after her paternal grandmother, that's something that I think makes more sense. It kind of makes sense that Barry would do something like that. And given the role that Nora has played over the course of the show, particularly in season 1, with the finale and all of that, she's a much more powerful presence here than she was, I think, in the comics. Not that they didn't kind of have these great moments with her in the comics, but I think it really just resonates so much stronger here on the show. We don't get any kind of idea whether or not she has a brother or anything like that, but I think we'll get into that in the next season. And of course, people have pointed out that her look is very reminiscent of Barry's granddaughter, XS, aka Jenny Ugnatz, who was also a mixed race character. Their Joe and Cecile's daughter being named Jenna, I think, is probably a little bit of them deciding to sort of split the difference with those two characters. As for what Nora's big mistake could be, I'm not really particularly sure. I don't think it was saving Barry with the satellite. I mean, obviously she wouldn't have been born if he had died in that particular moment, because Iris is not pregnant right now. I mean, I mean, there's, I guess, always a tiny possibility that could be true, but her age doesn't match up. From what people have, I've been hearing online, the producers have even said that she's like 30 from 30 years in the future, and Nora is quite clearly not someone who's 30. Although apparently in real life, the actress who plays her is what, like 6 years older than Grant Gustin. She just looks very, very young for her age, which is, points to her. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going on there next season. Obviously, we've got time travel. Obviously, we're going to be dealing with what happens when some other speedster screws up the timeline, which is what I'm assuming she was referring to. Of course, her turning up on the family doorstep during a big celebration, very reminiscent of more than of classic Flash storylines there. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of really interesting stuff going on there. Um, I also like how they kind of came with a nice resolution to the whole situation with Harry. He's basically been evened out. He did lose his super intelligence, but he gained a great deal of emotional intelligence, and now he's pretty much just a regular guy. And while that is a loss to the world scientifically, it will do wonders for his relationship with Jesse. So, yeah, I've been hearing that Tom Cavanaugh is going to be playing a different version of Harrison Wells next season. I'm fine with that. It'd be interesting to see kind of where they go with that. What kind of different version of Harrison Wells can we have this time around? Let's see. Yeah, almost forgot. One thing a lot of people, including me, were sort of a little like, what the heck? At the end of the episode was that there was no sort of little teaser, any indication as to who the big bad guy for the next season might be, which is kind of a traditional thing here with The Flash. Yet, apparently, there was something that was filmed that was going to involve a lightning bolt dagger, and this information has been bouncing around online. There's been a casting call for next season's main villain, which everybody putting it together more or less agrees that it basically spells out that the big villain of the next season is going to be Cicada. I remember the story that introduced him and where he's really well known from, and reading it years and years ago. But honestly, I don't remember a lot of the details of what happened there. So, I mean, he's an interesting enough villain, and he certainly was responsible. Like, one of the story line, again written by Geoff Johns, produced this really great cover of an issue of The Flash with, and Cicada, if you don't know, is a cult leader. And there's all these people in these weird cults, and there's this picture of the Flash on a banner behind them, and on the cover are written the words, "Raise your hand if you will die for the Flash," and all the cult members have their hands up, and yeah, why that makes sense, you have to kind of read the storyline, but it's pretty crazy stuff. I am a little weary of the whole situation that we've gotten in the last few episodes here, that Caitlin and might have had, where it's heavily implied that Caitlin and Killer Frost were not caused, Caitlin's Killer Frost eye was not caused by the particle accelerator explosion. This was something that was within her when she was a child. Okay, now I've been reading comic books for a long time, and I've been burned by ridiculous retcons more times than I can count. This one, I'm a little wary of it, but generally the writers on the show have rewarded my faith in them more often than they have let me down, so I'm willing to see where they go with this. It's not as if metahumans of unknown origin haven't popped up before. And we know that people with powers and abilities have existed in the world before the particle accelerator explosion. Vandal Savage and the Hawks and all of that. So Where they're going to go with this, I don't know, but it'll certainly be interesting to see. And yeah, we're definitely in a place where season 5 definitely promises to be very interesting. I'll certainly be interested to see where it is they're going to go with everything. And yeah, guys, it's been a fun season. Had its ups and downs, but all in all, pretty much just another good time with the Flash. So, of course, I will be doing videos for season 5. So please join me then. Until next time, take care and have a good one.